She's a broke street artist. He's the secret billionaire she accidentally inspired years ago. When Lana Cross is offered a mysterious chance to paint a mural inside a luxury hotel, it feels like fate. But betrayal, lies, and stolen art threaten to destroy her future. Just as her world falls apart, a buried truth and a locket from her past ignite a fight that could change everything. Who is Micah Vaughn really, and why does he carry a sketch she drew as a child? Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, powerful stories like this one. The rain hadn't let up for hours, slicking the streets of New York's Lower East Side with a sheen of silver. Steam rose in ghostly spirals from sewer grates, and neon signs buzzed over cracked brick walls. Lana Cross moved like a shadow through the puddles, her black boots slapping softly against the wet pavement. A frayed hoodie cloaked her auburn curls, the threads damp and clinging to her skin. Her backpack hung heavy on her shoulders, not with books or clothes, but with half-empty spray cans and a sketchbook bound by rubber bands. She didn't glance at the doormen in polished coats or the glass-walled Halcyon Hotel looming across the alley. She had work to do. Her mural was already taking shape on the battered wall of an abandoned deli. Flames curled around the edges, orange and cobalt blue feathers stretching into the brickwork as a phoenix burst free from a nest of rusted chains. She shook a can and sprayed upward, the hiss echoing under the soft drum of rain. Every arc of paint was defiance. Every burst of color was rebellion. Lana's art wasn't just expression, it was survival. At 24, Lana had been fighting for space since she was a child. Her parents had run a tiny cafe a few blocks away until the city took it back in foreclosure when she was only 11. They died not long after, her father from a stroke, her mother from heartbreak. All Lana had left was a tin pendant with a scratched phoenix engraved on it, a keepsake her mother had pressed into her palm with shaking fingers. Be fierce, be free. She never took it off. She was crouched low now, outlining the curve of a wing when a sound made her freeze. A soft metallic creak, like a door shifting open, slipped through the rhythm of the rain. She turned slowly, instinct taut. The service door of the Halcyon Hotel across the alley had cracked open. Yellow light spilled onto the wet ground like a secret leaking out. Lana narrowed her eyes. She expected to see a janitor or maybe a drunk stumbling into the wrong corridor. Instead, she saw him. A man, bare from the waist up, stood in front of a full-length mirror inside a small utility room. His back was strong, his arms lean but solid, as though carved more by stress than the gym. He was tracing something on the fogged glass, a faded sketch, barely visible under the reflection. As he moved his fingers, Lana saw it clearly. A phoenix, almost identical to the one she'd been painting. Her breath caught. His expression, somber, almost reverent, wasn't what she expected. There was grief in his eyes, a kind of lost, unfinished sorrow that echoed too loudly inside her own bones. She couldn't look away. For a heartbeat, she felt as though she wasn't just watching him, but being seen in return, completely, undeniably. His gray eyes lifted to meet hers through the narrow opening in the door. Surprise flickered across his face. Then something else. Not fear, not shame. Something gentler. Recognition, maybe. Her pendant clinked against the spray can in her hand. Startled, she stepped back, cobalt mist puffing into the air like stardust. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. Wrong door, her mind screamed. Her cheeks flared with heat. Sorry, she whispered, barely audible, and turned to run. His voice followed, soft, certain, cutting through the wet. Maybe not. Lana didn't stop. She ran until the alley swallowed her again, her reflection fractured in puddles, her pulse loud against her ribs. She didn't stop until she'd climbed the rusted ladder back into her squat, an abandoned warehouse where candles flickered in empty bottles and her crew snored on tattered mattresses. Her fingers trembled as she pulled off her hoodie, the pendant cool now against her throat, grounding her. Who was that man? A hotel guest? Someone slumming it for kicks? She shook her head, tossing her backpack onto a crate. But something rustled loose. A folded scrap of paper fell to the floor, damp but intact. She picked it up slowly. It was a sketch, another phoenix drawn in bold black ink, its wings matching hers. At the bottom a note, "Your art speaks. Halcyon Lobby, 9 a.m." Initialed simply M. Lana stared at it, her breath catching. Her fingers traced the curve of the phoenix. It was hers, but not fierce and soft, defiant and inviting. Her pendant glinted faintly in the candlelight as she turned it over. The carved phoenix catching the glow. 9 in the morning was only a few hours away. But the note in her hand was heavy with something more than ink. It felt like a challenge or a door, and she didn't know yet if she was brave enough to walk through it. The morning air was heavy with mist, a soft veil that clung to the glass towers of the Halcyon Hotel like breath on a mirror. Lana stood across the street, her hoodie pulled low, her fingers curled tight around the folded sketch in her coat pocket. The tin phoenix at her throat was a steady weight, cool against her skin. Her stomach twisted with something halfway between nerves and disbelief. She didn't belong here. She was alley paint and secondhand boots. This place was all velvet marble, jasmine polish, and people who never worried about heat bills or eviction notices. Still, she crossed the street. Inside, the Halcyon lobby was another world. A chandelier caught the rising sun, scattering fractured gold across floors polished to mirror sheen. Bellhops glided past like ghosts in perfectly pressed uniforms. Guests with spotless shoes and louder-than-necessary laughter passed her without seeing her. Until they did. Their glances were sharp, dismissive, skimming over her hoodie like it was dirt on a window. She nearly turned back. But then she saw him. Leaning against a marble pillar was the man from last night. Only now he wore a crisp navy blazer, his dark hair swept back, the sharp lines of his face softened by a knowing smile. He looked like he belonged here, confident, composed, the kind of man who didn't flinch when people whispered. But his eyes found hers instantly, locking onto her like she was the only person in the room. The smile widened. "Lana Cross," he said as she approached, his voice warm, familiar. "Glad you didn't ditch the invite." She froze a moment, caught off guard by how casual he sounded, like this was normal, like any of this was normal. "You're the guy from," she hesitated, gesturing vaguely toward the alley and not sure if she should be saying it out loud. He nodded. "Micah? Just Micah. I'm helping with the gala here." She blinked. "So, you're like an event planner?" He laughed softly. "Something like that." Before she could press, he was already motioning for her to follow. He led her into a side lounge, plush and quiet, where velvet armchairs sank beneath her frame and a fire crackled behind glass. It was too clean. Too soft. Lana gripped the armrest like it might reject her presence at any second. Micah ordered coffee without asking, black for him, cream for her, and when it arrived she was startled that he got it right. "I've seen your work," he said, sipping from a sleek ceramic mug. "Your murals. That phoenix over on Delancey? It stopped me in my tracks." Lana tried to play it cool, but her cheeks flushed. No one ever said things like that to her. Not even her crew, who just called her Paint Girl and let her sleep by the boiler. "You paint like you're trying to make someone feel something," he continued. "Not impress, not sell, just speak." Her throat tightened. "Most people think it's trash. Most people wouldn't recognize truth if it was lit up in neon." She looked down at her hands, chipped black nail polish, faint blue streaks from this morning's touch-up work. "Why me?" she asked, the question sharp, suspicious. "You don't even know me." Micah reached into his pocket and unfolded the rain-smudged sketch. Her phoenix stared up at her, its wings bold, imperfect, alive. "I know your art," he said softly. "That's enough." The room went still. Lana's heart pounded louder than the fire's crackle. He slid a file across the table. A simple contract. Her name already typed in block letters. A number beside it, enough to pay off her fines, maybe get heat back on in the squat, maybe even something for Milo's meds. She stared at it. "This would be for the gala?" she asked quietly. Micah nodded. "A centerpiece mural. Something real. Not staged, not curated, yours." Her fingers trembled as she reached for the pen. But before she could sign, he spoke again. "That necklace," he said, nodding to the pendant resting against her hoodie. "It's unusual." Lana's fingers flew to the phoenix. She tucked it beneath the fabric, suddenly cold. "It's just old," she muttered. "Family thing." He didn't press. She signed quickly, trying not to let her hands shake. He smiled, and for a moment something flickered in his eyes, something familiar, maybe even vulnerable, but it vanished as quickly as it came. He rose to walk her out, his voice casual. "You'll have access to supplies, a workspace. Take the month. Show them who you are." Outside, the city buzzed awake, horns honking, steam rising, life pulsing in every direction. But Lana stood frozen at the hotel's glass doors, her reflection blurred, caught between two worlds. Behind her, luxury. Ahead, concrete and cold. She adjusted her backpack, the tin phoenix warm now. "I'll try," she said. Micah watched her go, eyes tracking the swing of her braid. Back inside, he made a quiet call. "Find everything you can on Lana Cross," he said. "And don't make noise." He didn't know what she was yet, but something told him. This wasn't just a mural. This was fate, unfolding in color and fire. The old service room smelled like fresh paint and dust, its cinder-block walls scrubbed clean but still echoing with the memory of disuse. Lana stood in the middle of it, clutching a new set of brushes and full-spectrum paints, her eyes wide at the crates labeled with her name. Real materials, not scavenged cans from dumpsters or half-drained bottles left behind in abandoned lots. It felt surreal, almost wrong. Her hoodie clashed violently against the gleaming tile floor, but she wasn't here for approval. She was here to work. The first day passed in a blur of charcoal lines and outlines sketched in nervous sweeps. Micah had checked in once, lingering at the door, watching her hands move like they had a will of their own. "It's taking shape," he said, voice low, cologne faint in the room. She barely nodded. His presence threw her rhythm. Not because of intimidation, but because of the warmth that came with him. A warmth she didn't trust. Back at the squat, things weren't quiet. Her crew had caught wind of her gig, and the mood had shifted. Sketch, her closest friend, muttered about selling out while she cleaned her brushes. Others just stared. Someone tagged the word fake over her last mural on the south wall. Lana had tried to ignore it. She was used to being pushed out, overlooked, misread. But this time, it stung deeper. Worse, she returned one night to find a red sticker slapped across the warehouse door. City property. Eviction notice. Her breath left her in a rush. The fines for her murals, those vandalism charges, had finally stacked too high. She ripped the notice down with trembling hands, her heart pounding in her ears. Inside, Milo was curled on a mattress, sweat beading on his forehead, eyes dim. He mumbled something about needing cash. Again. Always again. At the hotel, she poured her fear and fury into the phoenix. Its wings stretched wider now, chains snapping midair. She added flecks of gold, strokes of rusted red. Every brushstroke screamed, "I'm still here. You will not erase me." She painted through the night, fingers numb, knees aching. She didn't stop until the sun crept over the skyline and her bones ached from exhaustion. But just as things felt steady again, it happened. A knock at her squat's back door. Then flashing lights, cops with tight mouths and bored eyes. "Graffiti complaint," one said, holding up a small Ziploc of red paint cans, hers apparently, found near a vandalized wall just blocks from the halcyon. "They're not mine," she said, heart hammering. "Street trash always says that." They cuffed her anyway. Her pendant swung between them, catching on the metal as she was shoved into the back of the cruiser. She was released 2 hours later. No charges, nothing stuck. But the warning did. Her name was now flagged. Her mural project was under review. One more misstep, and it was over. Back at the studio, her hands shook too much to hold the brush steady. Micah arrived minutes later, stepping in without knocking, concern etched across his face. "I heard," he said, voice low, as if the walls might be listening. "Are you okay?" She stood, paint smudging her knuckles, her chest tight with rage and shame. "Fine." He stepped closer, his gray eyes sincere. "You don't look fine." His kindness felt like pity, and that made it worse. "You don't know anything about my world," she snapped. "You think this," she gestured to the paints, the studio, the hotel above, "fixes the rest of it?" Micah didn't flinch, but his eyes did flick past her shoulder, where Clara stood just beyond the doorway, sleek in a crimson pantsuit, her blue eyes glinting with amusement. And around her neck, hanging like a threat, was a silver phoenix pendant, a replica, immaculate, new. Lana froze. Her stomach dropped. Did he tell her? Her voice dropped, cold. "Did you show her mine?" "What?" Micah said, startled. "Clara, she doesn't. Save it." Lana stepped back, chest heaving. "You think I'm some street novelty? A pretty mural and a tragic story to show off at your rich people party? It's not like that." "Sure," she whispered, backing toward the door. "And you're just the planner, right?" Micah didn't follow. He stood there, jaw tight, eyes dark with something she couldn't read. Regret, maybe. Guilt. Back at the squat, she found her paints tampered with. Cans missing. The colors off. One of her crew, Lex, wouldn't meet her eyes. Someone had been paid to ruin her, and she had a pretty good guess who was behind it. Lana stared at the phoenix sketch on her wall, the chains unfinished, the wings clipped mid-flight. Her pendant was cold now, heavy. If this world wanted to erase her again, she would make damn sure her art screamed loud enough to be heard. The Halcyon's ballroom gleamed like a dream wrapped in crystal. Silk-draped tables, gold-rimmed glasses, and a chandelier the size of a small car glittered above the city's elite. Lana stood at the edge, stiff in a borrowed black dress that clung too tightly across her ribs. Her boots didn't match, but they were hers. Her fingers itched to hold a brush, not a champagne flute. Her pendant rested above her collarbone, the tin phoenix warm under the lights, the only piece of herself that felt real in this place. She wasn't on the program. She wasn't even supposed to be here. She had come anyway. The mural, the phoenix she'd painted with aching hands and all the color left in her soul, hung at the front of the ballroom. Or at least it looked like it. Every brushstroke was hers. The wings, the flame, the shimmer of broken chains. But someone else stood at the podium, smiling for the cameras. Clara Vale. Wrapped in sapphire silk, her blonde hair coiled like a crown, and around her neck the silver phoenix gleamed, a perfect twin of Lana's pendant. Her voice, crisp and confident, echoed through the space. "This piece," Clara said, gesturing to the mural, "represents rebirth, freedom, and the Halcyon's commitment to authenticity and art that uplifts." Applause rang out like thunder. Investors nodded, photographers snapped away. Lana's heart twisted. She stepped forward, every nerve on fire, her voice, clear but low, cut through the applause. "That's mine." Heads turned. Murmurs rippled. Clara's smile didn't falter, but her eyes sharpened. "I'm sorry," she said sweetly, tilting her head. Lana swallowed hard. "You didn't paint that mural." "I did." A ripple of laughter from someone near the back. Clara turned to the crowd, amused. "A street artist, everyone? Probably confused." "I'm not confused," Lana said. Her hands shook, but she pulled out her phone, cracked screen glowing as she swiped through her sketchbook. "These are my original drafts, time-stamped. Look." Silence. Clara's jaw tightened for half a second before her smile returned. "Anyone can draw something after the fact." "Then explain this," Lana said, stepping closer, pulling her pendant free. The tin phoenix gleamed under the ballroom lights, edges worn by years. "This is real. That one you're wearing? It's brand new. Yours still has a price tag string on the back." Gasps. Clara's fingers flew to the pendant, touching it like it might burn her. But before anyone else could speak, a new voice sliced through the tension. "Enough." Micah stepped into the spotlight, suit sharp, eyes hard. No longer hiding, no longer just the man in the hallway. "My name is Micah Vaughn," he said, his voice calm but unshakable. "I'm the CEO of the Halcyon." More gasps. Lana felt her knees weaken. "This mural was painted by Lana Cross," he continued, stepping beside her. "Not Clara. Lana's art speaks because it's real. Because it came from a place of pain and strength and truth." Clara's smile cracked. "You have no proof." Micah lifted a hand. Screens blinked to life behind them, showing grainy video footage. Clara sneaking into Lana's studio. A transaction log for red paint, emails and instructing staff to tamper with supplies. "And that pendant?" Micah said, nodding to hers. "Ordered online 2 weeks ago." The room erupted in whispers. Clara turned pale, her breath hitching. "This is slander." "No," Micah said coldly. "This is justice. You're done here." Clara's face twisted, but she didn't argue. She spun on her heels and stormed out, her replica pendant swinging like a broken lie behind her. Lana stood frozen. Micah turned to her slowly, eyes softening. From his breast pocket, he pulled something small and worn, a weathered card with a phoenix drawn in shaky strokes. "You gave me this once," he said quietly. "I was 15. You were 12. A girl in a shelter with fire in her eyes handed me a sketch and told me keep going. I did. This, everything, because of you." She stared at the card, her heart catching. Her memory swam. That winter. That boy in the coat 3 sizes too big. That sketch. That moment. "I didn't know," she whispered, voice breaking. "I did," he said. "I've never stopped knowing." The room blurred, her heart racing. Cameras flashed, people clapped. But Lana saw only him. And the truth, at last, was louder than the lies. Rain streaked the hospital windows like fingers tracing sorrow, blurring the harsh fluorescent glow outside. Lana sat hunched beside Milo's bed, her hands cold, her locket clutched tightly between them. Tubes ran from her brother's arms, machines beeped like distant thunder, and his skin was pale as unprimed canvas. She hadn't even changed out of the gala dress. The hem was damp, dirt-streaked. Her boots were still on, caked with the alley's grime. Her voice cracked when she whispered his name, but Milo didn't stir. Overdose. Again. This time worse. The shelter nurse said they found him half-conscious in a stairwell. She'd almost lost him, for good. The door creaked, and she didn't look up, not until she smelled rain and spice and something warm she hadn't realized she missed. Micah stepped inside. No blazer, no bodyguards. Just him. His eyes scanned the room, softening when they landed on her. He crossed to her without a word, knelt, and gently placed a folded slip of paper on the edge of Milo's bed. "What is it?" she asked, voice brittle. He pushed it toward her. "Proof." She opened it. "A wire transfer, $10,000, Milo's debts. Cleared." "They were waiting outside," Micah murmured. "I made them disappear." Her fingers shook. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he said quietly, "but I wanted to, because you've carried too much, for too long." She blinked back tears, biting her bottom lip. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," he said, voice softer now. "You painted something that changed me. You gave me a reason when I had none." She reached out, almost without thinking, and touched his wrist. His hand turned, fingers brushing hers. No suits, no walls, just two scarred people holding on. Days passed. Milo began to wake. Lana stayed beside him, sketching in silence while machines hummed. She drew smaller phoenixes now, simpler ones for kids. For the studio she hadn't dared believe in. But now, the gala funds were real. The investors pledged more. People had seen her. And not just the city, the world. When Milo could speak again, he reached for her hand and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up." She pressed her lips to his forehead, heart full and cracking open. The Halcyon mural stayed, but this time it bore her name. Bold. Unapologetic. She was offered commissions, invitations to speak, even gallery space. But she turned most of it down. Instead, she rented a warehouse on the east side, an old printing factory with broken windows and rusted doors, and turned it into a mural school for street kids. She painted the first wall with them, a phoenix rising, wings spread across brick and shadow. They called her Miss Cross, laughing as they sprayed more paint on themselves than the wall. Her crew came back, one by one. Lex brought snacks. Sketch donated brushes. No more whispered judgments. No more tags calling her a sellout. Now they called her sister. One afternoon she walked along the river, sketchbook in hand, the city humming low beneath the sun. Her locket caught the light, swinging softly against her chest. A new pendant rested beside it, silver, smooth, with a carved phoenix that mirrored her own. A gift from Micah. No inscription, no branding. Just a match. Like him and her, similar yet scarred, distinct but drawn together. They hadn't spoken in days, not since the night in the hospital. The air between them still trembled with things unsaid. She sat by the lake, sketching sparrows and stars, when footsteps crunched behind her. She didn't have to turn to know. Micah sat beside her, quiet. He looked tired, but real, like the man she'd seen tracing a sketch in a backroom mirror. His voice was low when he said, "I thought I'd find you here." She didn't answer right away. Just let the wind play with the edge of her paper. "I messed up," he admitted. "Not telling you who I was. Letting Clara get close enough to hurt you. I was scared you'd only see the suit. The money. Not the boy you helped all those years ago." She looked at him then. "You hurt me," she said honestly. "But you fought for me. For Milo, you didn't have to, and you did." He reached into his coat, pulled out something small. A second pendant. Silver. Identical. "I had it made," he said. "Not for show, not for apologies, for you. Because you're not a project, you're home." Her heart stuttered. She took it slowly, fingers brushing his. Warmth sparked where their skin touched. "No more secrets," she whispered. "No more hiding," he promised. She leaned in. He met her halfway. Their kiss was slow, hesitant, then certain, like finding shelter after a storm. As the city lights flickered to life, two phoenixes gleamed on their chests, no longer chained. They had risen. Together. Life lesson from the story. This story reminds us that no matter where we come from or how invisible we've felt, our voice matters, and when we dare to speak it through art, passion, or truth, the world has no choice but to listen. Lana Cross didn't just paint walls. She painted her pain, her hope, her story. And despite betrayal, poverty, and self-doubt, she stood up and claimed her truth. That's what courage looks like. Not being unafraid, but choosing to fight anyway. Micah's journey shows us that even those who seem powerful on the outside may be carrying silent scars on the inside. It's not wealth or status that defines worth. It's integrity, empathy, and what we choose to do with the power we hold. His belief in Lana didn't save her. It reminded her she was already worth saving. The lesson is clear. You are more than your circumstances. You are not defined by your past, your failures, or what others try to take from you. Your story matters. And sometimes, all it takes is one person who sees your light and the strength to believe in yourself again. Where are you watching this from? We'd love to hear your story too. If this message touched you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories like this. Your support means everything. See you in the next one.